שפתם מים בסוסון ממעייני הישועה לשם הישועה על המחור ברכוסך סלם ושפתם מים בסוסון ממעייני הישועה לשם הישועה על המחור ברכוסך סלם.
Hello everyone. As we continue to talk about eating and drinking in Shul, I thought today we'd devote our time to drinking water in Shul, not on Shabbos, but any day of the week. There is a Gemara in Bechoros, Daf Mem Daled Amud Bet, that says that Ein Shotim Mayim Bifnei Rabim. You do not drink in public, explains Rashi, the Derech Talmid Chacham Liyot Tzanua B'Achila V'Shtiya, that a Talmid Chacham should be modest when he eats and drinks. I don't believe that Gemara is applicable today. My proof is go on to YouTube, put in Rebbe Tish, and you'll see many, many great Hasidic Rebbes eating and drinking in public, being filmed for posterity. And from this perspective, I'm not so sure that, in and of itself, would not allow us to drink in public. If that would be the case, we wouldn't be able to drink in public at all. But there is still a prohibition, as I mentioned, to drink in shul. After all, we learned the Gemara and Megillah together that part of the reverence we should have for a shul is ein ochlim bahem ve'ein shotim bahem. We don't eat in them and we don't drink in them. So the question is, can we drink water during davening from our water bottles that we frequently carry with us? The Rashbash, who is the son of the famous Tashbetz, comes along and says that there's a phenomenon in the shuls that he saw, which the person asking the question says that on Shabbos morning they would read the Torah. If someone would get thirsty, they would take water. They would drink in shul. Says the Rashbash, it's not a good thing they're doing. Very simply, it's prohibited to eat and drink in shul like we learned, and only a Talmid Chacham is allowed to, and that's if he's learning there full time. And from this perspective, he even posits that today we don't have these kinds of people that are learning so diligently that they can't go out for a minute to drink a cup of water. And therefore he concludes that ultimately you shouldn't drink in the shul, go outside to drink, and do not do it in the shul. The Chida, Rav Chaim David Azulai, who was not only a great Rav, but a frequent traveler, who went around the world, testifies in his Birkei Yosef on the Shulchan Aruch, Haminhagata, the minhag now, Shatu ha'amayim bebeit hakneset, that people drink in shuls. And since that's the minhag, the Chafetz Chaim, the Bir Halacha, comes along and says, what is it based on? And he tries to base it on three things. Number one, שסומכים לעולם על הסבורים, דבתי כנסת שבחוץ לארץ, על תנאים עשויים, ומועיל אף ביישובן. They have two assumptions. Number one, the shuls outside of Israel have this conditional sanctity. And number two, that conditional sanctity allows you to eat and drink in there even while they're still standing. In other words, the position of Rashi, the Or Zarua. So, from this perspective, he goes and says, be'eretz Yisrael, ein tam lehatir. In Israel, there is absolutely no way to allow it, because in Israel, there's no such thing as a conditional sanctity. As we quoted from the Tosfos, le'eit ba goel tipaka kedushatan. When Mashiach comes, all the shuls outside of Israel will no longer have sanctity. But the ones in Israel have eternal sanctity, and therefore there's nothing you can do. You got to drink outside of shul. And that's the way the Shulchan Aruch paskins, that you can make this condition outside of Israel, but in Israel, no dice. Comes along the Bir Halacha, not there, a little later in the same Siman, and says on Siman Yud Aleph, I'm not so sure the Shulchan Aruch's right. And he goes along and basically says that when the Gemara says that the shuls outside of Israel, al t'nayim asuyin, they were made on condition, en ledayek mizeh la'apuke Eretz Yisrael, don't infer that means only in Bavel, meaning outside of Israel, not in Israel, but rather the Gemara was just stating a fact. fact is, the shuls outside of Israel had this conditional sanctity. But, point positive, if you want to do it in Israel, you can. The Gemara was just testifying that at the time, the shuls outside of Israel did it, and the shuls inside of Israel didn't. In his words, the bebavel darkan ayalat not. He goes on to say that probably the way people read the Gemara that only outside of Israel versus in Israel is because of that Tosfot. But quite frankly, there's other poskim like Rashi or Zarua that said that even when the shul is standing, you can make this condition. So if that's the case, what's the difference? Israel, outside of Israel. The bottom line is, if you made it on condition, it could be in either place. And therefore, he says, if you read the Gemara like me, at the end of the day, even in Israel, you could say it's a conditional sanctity. And when they made the shul, they said, this shul, we will allow eating and drinking. And indeed, there's many shuls in Israel that double as both a shul as well as the social hall. And no one says boo, probably because even though the Shulchan Aruch paskin like Tosfot, we don't paskin like that. And we paskin like Rashi and the Or Zarua, that even while they're standing, you can make the condition, as well as the Biur Halacha that says, it's not Israel versus Chutz La'aretz, it's simply factual. Did you make that condition, or didn't you? Number 2, says the Biur Halacha, there's another reason to allow drinking water. And that is, the Mishal Omed Bebet HaMikdash Afilu Shelo B'Kfiyut, Yesh La'akel B'zeh Keshesameh Lishtot, the Yesh Lomad Ave B'zeh Tzorech Mitzvah, Kedei Shelo Yitbatel Milimudo. Since we allow people that learn full-time to eat and drink so they don't have to go outside and waste 5 minutes, you could say the same thing about davening. Why go outside, waste 5 minutes? In shul, with your water bottle, drink, and go on with your davening. And number 3, he says, Etzem Hadin Lo Nizkar B'Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, yes, did indeed come along and say very explicitly that you're not allowed to sleep in a shul, even if it's a nap called Sheinat Arai. When it comes to eating and drinking, you didn't mention it. Shma mina lecha radavka keva. Maybe he only means a real meal. After all, any place the Shulchan Aruch wanted to tell you both a long and a short, he said it. Like in Hilchot Sukkah, he said, you're not allowed to take a nap outside the Sukkah, as well as not sleep outside the Sukkah. On the other hand, when it came to eating, he said a real meal in the sukkah, a snack could be outside the sukkah. And therefore, for those 3 reasons, number 1, maybe it's a conditional sanctity. Number 2, not to waste time. And number 3, maybe this kind of eating and drinking, namely achilat arai or shtiyat arai, a snack versus a meal, would be allowed since the Shulchan Aruch didn't mention it. For those 3 reasons, the Biur Halacha says it's probably okay to drink water in shul.